welcome back to Epic Space Program, Episode 5. So, as I promised in our last episode, we are going to Minmas, and this here is the vehicle that will get us there. It has over 7,000 meters per second of delta V. It has landing gear. It has parachutes. And of course, it has our Science Junior modular science experiment of Materials Bay. So we are going to go ahead and launch. I'm going to try and do this a little bit differently. I'm going to do this in kind of more of a cinematic mode and see if you guys like that. If you like the way I'm doing these launches, let me know, and I'll try and do more of them like this. Otherwise, I might go back to the old style. But we're going to go ahead and do full throttle here, and I will see you in orbit. Okay, and we are in orbit. A lot of that happened on the night side. I'm going to try and, I hope you could see everything. I did my best to lighten everything up in the editing. But we are in orbit. So we are going to start we have two things that we need to do to get to Minmas. It's slightly more complicated than the moon, but not by much. Main thing that we have to do is change our angle, our inclination, because Minmas is 6 degrees inclined from the equatorial orbit. So we have to make sure that when we start to burn there that our orbits are aligned. So the way we do that is we go to either the descending node or the ascending node. Ascending node is where our orbit starts to go above Minmas. Descending is where our orbit starts to go below, but our ascending node is the next one coming up. So I'm going to click on that. And we just need to burn south. We're ascending, we're going up, so we need to tilt our orbit south in respect to the planet so that our angles match up. So if we get these right on, we'll have descending node 0 degrees, ascending node 0 degrees. I mean, that means we'll be in the plane of Minmas's orbit. So let's go ahead and set up our maneuver node, point ourselves at the node. There, and time accelerate over to the burn. There we go, and we got pretty close, 0.1 degree off, but that will be plenty for us to be able to make it to Minmas. So we come around here, and now that we've got this aligned, we can basically do the same thing. It may take a little bit more finesse, but we go ahead and look to where Minmas comes up over the horizon. Burn prograde, and I'm going to go ahead and set up a maneuver. Like I said, it's not quite as easy, but you can definitely get an encounter doing it the same way as going to the moon. You just have to, if you want to save some delta V, you just may want to play around with it. But that looks pretty good. 900 meters per second. We've got plenty of spare delta V to manage to pull that maneuver off, so we're just going to go for it. Point ourselves and speed up around the planet.
And I ought to be too out, man.
Go ahead and get rid of this node here, and we'll just make a straight burn. There we go. So we'll go ahead and time accelerate away from Kerbal. Get up to the moon. Or Minmas, I should say.
Here we go.
And bring our periapsis way in. And then burn relative north and try and land in a nice sunny side of the sunny area of the planet, or the moon. And maybe a little bit more east again. There we go. So we've got a nice straight shot coming in. And I'll go ahead and time accelerate till we get below maybe 50,000 meters. You can see in our velocity is really low compared to most planetary bodies, and that's just because we don't have to be moving very fast compared to, relative to Minmas in order to get a capture or come into the planet. The gravity is just so low. Everything kind of happens almost in slow motion. So we're coming in over one of the frozen lakes on Minmas, which is perfect because that's a perfectly flat ground right at sea level. That'll make it really easy to land. And what we'll do is I'm going to use the rest of the delta V in this stage to kill some of our velocity, and then the other stage will be for our final landing. So we're going to go ahead and line up for our final descent here. And I'm going to go ahead and time accelerate. You can see the crazy thrust to weight ratios we've got on these engines in Minmas's gravity well here. So we can kill velocity very quickly. So we've got 323 meters per second left in this stage. We're right at about 300 meters per second of acceleration toward the planet. So I'm going to use this stage to kill all of that, and then I'll drop it and let it fall a little bit faster. Hopefully the impact will be enough that it will destroy itself on impact and we won't have any debris left over. So that'll be good. Go ahead and separate. Now I'm going to kill all of our horizontal velocity and come straight down. Still see our other stage descending there. It'll probably be out of range by the time we get down there, so I don't think we're going to get to see it crash. That's okay, though. So while we're coming down, I'm going to run one of our experiments. And then I've got a thermometer on our craft again, so I'm going to go ahead and log the temperature there. So even for relatively simple experiments on Minmas, we get quite a bit of science. So that'll be really good. So I'm going to time accelerate, do one last suicide burn right before we come down here. Whenever we start seeing our shadow. There it is. You can just barely make it out. So let's go ahead and kill most of our vertical velocity. Get us down under about 20 meters per second, and then we'll let gravity do the rest. Right until a few hundred feet. Bring us down nice. Picture-perfect landing. And we are on the ground. All right, let's do some science. Let's observe our materials bed. Science. And our other goo container. 50 science. Let's take a crew report. EVA-JEB here. Let's take this thermometer data and store everything there. Doesn't he look happy? All right, so let's take a sample, surface sample. I forgot to do it on the moon, but we're definitely going to do it here. Let's plant a flag. Okay. Minmas Lakes and for science. All right, so let's go ahead and gather up all of the experiments that we have here.
So we're going to be down here talking about Kethane.
Thermometer data.
Yeah, I'm fine here and shell a little bit of good. Be a little Indian, then, you know.
So we've got quite a bit of science now.
Let's
go ahead and take off and head back for Kerbal. Now the way we're going to want to do this, if we notice, let's pull back out here. The way our orbit is set up, we're actually going to want to turn and fly west relative to Minmas. Otherwise, if we fly right, if we fly east, I mean, then as we add speed, we're very close to an escape trajectory from Kerbal. So we do not want that to happen. We're just going to take off and turn immediately to the west. Pull up our gear here. What I want to do is get our apoapsis right. So that'll bring our periapsis back within the atmosphere, just from that one maneuver. So we'll go ahead and coast up there. Start our burn. See, it's only going to take about 200 meters per second to get us back into the atmosphere. We've got rather little speed. It's already moving so slow comparatively that by the time we get down to where Kerbal is, our orbit has stretched quite a bit, so keep burning here. bring us down. There we go, within the atmosphere. Looking good. So let's get rid of this node, time accelerate, and meet you right back before we re-enter.
How about you, V9091, 340?
Okay, so we have just hit the atmosphere, and I'm going to use the remaining fuel in this stage to slow us down. I don't want to have to wait on aerobraking or anything if we don't have to. We've got over 700 delta V left in this stage, so we're going to burn all that, and then we'll separate, and hopefully that'll be enough to let us survive re-entry. There's about 250 units of ablative shielding that's automatically put on the Mark 1 pod by the deadly re-entry mod, so that should be enough to keep us alive. I have the parachute set up so that it should be well behind the windshield. So we'll kill as much of our velocity as we can. I do apologize, we're coming in on the right side again. That shouldn't matter too much. Camera just changed. We're now on suborbital trajectory. Just under 2,600 meters per second. Now I'm going to leave the bottom stage attached for just a little bit to add as a little bit more drag and a little bit more heat absorbing. So let's go ahead and get down into the deeper part of the atmosphere here. Re-entry effects are going to get pretty severe, I think.
Now, send me a device as I say so.
So that is the kill first.
Just lost part of our stage there.
I showing the cost away now, saying about it, we mount.
2,000 meters per second. I'm going to go ahead and separate us.
Okay, my mount.
Pretty quickly. Re-entry on the night side is pretty cool looking, I have to admit. All right, killed all of that velocity. Our re-entry effects are gone, so let's go ahead and switch over in our in the editor to night vision mode, and we can see as we come down now. Beautiful. Jebediah Kerman returning to it for another successful mission. He is truly becoming a legend in our epic space program. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and switch back over to normal vision and recover the vessel. 500 science. Wow, that's going to be great. All right, so let's see what we've managed to unlock with all of that. So, we've unlocked quite a bit. We've unlocked compound rocketry, advanced compound rocketry. These are important because we get our side decouplers, our radial decouplers, which is going to allow us to do proper asparagus staging. We've unlocked the aerospike, which will be great for those sections where we need a lot more efficiency for larger rockets. We have RCS components now. We have more miniature rocketry parts. We've got some of our radially mounted engines, a larger stretchable fuel tank, and some probe bodies and things like that. We have, let's see what else we unlocked. We have rover wheels. We are, and the ability now to maybe do some remote roving expeditions. We have communications all the way out to, let's see, we can go to 90 million miles, so that's not too bad. We're still going to be stuck within Earth's or Kerbin's sphere of influence with that for the most part, but we'll be able to do some interesting things with that. We have the plasma thruster from the near future propulsion pack, so that might be very interesting to play around with. And finally, we have, let's see, oh, I thought I had something here. What did I do with it? There it is. Finally, we have vacuosphere investigations, but basically what this does, it gives us some ladders, it gives us a few parts from Kerbal attachment systems, so we can get into some interesting connections and orbital construction and things like that. And it gives us the Kerbal dust experiment. This is a really cool mod. It adds an experiment very similar to some of the ones that NASA's done around the moon, where basically it analyzes particulate matter that's been blown up from meteorite impacts and things like that. So that could be a very interesting way to get some science. And I think that we are going to go ahead and build a probe to use this experiment in our next episode. So until then, I hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll see you next time.